Hello, everybody. Welcome to the program. And I should say, welcome to the cabin.
Yay!
Tonight, I have a very special guest, and I am really, really excited about this because she is such a pro to the business. And I always love talking to people that are pros in the business. Joining me this evening is a lady by the name of Donna Drake, and she is the host or hostess of the Donna Drake Show, which is one of the most popular talk shows in New York City. It airs weekly, and not only in New York, it is seen around the country, and it is seen, I believe, in 22 countries. And she is also an award-winning hostess. Donna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me to your cabin.
And
It's, I don't know, are we going to be having s'mores or anything? I'm just,
oh, I have my tea in my cat's cup.
oh.
So anyway, listen, you are the host of a program called the Donna Drake Show. Live it up. I love the title. Tell me, how did you come up with that title?
Well, it's a little bit of a somber story. I was married to a man named Tom LaScala, and Tom wrote a song, Life is Only What You Make of It. And Tom crossed over to the other side in early 2004. And the show was born in 2008. And I was sleeping, and the television show really came to me like a computer download. I dreamt the whole thing in color. It happened to be on what would have been our wedding anniversary, which was December 28th of 2008. And when I woke up and I wrote down everything I could remember from the dream, and then I was like, all right, well, what am I going to call it? Right. And I decided to call it Live It Up, based upon Tom's song, because really life is only what we make of it. And so the original concept of Live It Up was to help people find their it in life, whatever their it is, ways that they celebrate life, the essence of the journey. And so that's how I came up with the name. And it's stuck ever since. And then thank
I
you.
love the title. I really do.
And that's
And,
how it came to be.
and also, it's interesting. You are a Missouri girl, born in Missouri. So how did this come? I mean, what did you just get up and have that dream in Missouri and say, I am moving now to New York and I think I'm going to host my own show? I mean, obviously, you mentioned earlier a journey. You had a journey to get where you are today. So tell us a little, how did all of this start? Because really, you are an inspiration to a lot of people out there watching.
That's so kind of you. Thank you. I grew up in St. Louis, and I do, I'm born and bred, right? Born and
Mhm.
bred St. Louisan.
Mhm.
And I still love my Midwest roots. I love the food. I love the culture. I was in second grade, and my singing teacher, Mrs. Binger, came up to us, and we used to have like music and art on a cart. So Mrs. Binger came into our classroom, and I was in the second row and about 4 seats back, and I was singing. And at the time, some of the kids in the school, Walker School Elementary, I was getting bullied a little bit. And so Mrs. Binger that day walked by me and she says, "Oh, Donna Marie, you have a lovely singing voice." And I looked right up at her and I said, "Yep, and I'm going to be famous someday." And she kind of laughed. I mean, and that sounds so silly now, but that really set me on a trajectory of, when I was being bullied, I wanted the kids around me to be like, someday you're going to wish you were nicer to me.
Mhm.
Someday I'm going to be somebody.
Yes,
So
it is so funny how you said that, because I caught a couple days ago one of the last interviews of the late Cicely Tyson, and that is exactly what she said, how she sat in the front row of the theater as a little girl, and she told everyone, one of these days I'm going to be up there. And that is very true. And to me, I'm always enticed by people, because I've been that way since I've been small, and it's, you have that dream and you follow through.
yeah, I just haven't stopped. And then it became, once I got to a certain level of fame, proving something to somebody didn't matter as much anymore. It was all
Mhm.
about what I could do with the talents and the access, and how I could help others through my platform. And, there was a moment that it just shifted for me. And I think it was probably around, I guess, somewhere around when Facebook started, and some of the kids that I had grown up with became my most ardent supporters. Like they were so proud of me, and they were like, "Oh, you grew up to be exactly who we thought you'd be, Donna. And, we love what you're doing." And it was funny how, all how things shift for us over
Hmm.
time. But then it became less about being famous and more about how I can shine a light on others. And that's been my mission ever since I
Right.
started the show.
And,
So it's kind of
and
fun. I love growing up to be who I thought I was going to be in second grade. Like it's
Mhm.
strange to look back at that moment and be like, and I look around me and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's like, think, like almost like I
Mhm.
dream a genie, right? It's like, how did I get here? So,
Yes. Or like Samantha, wiggle that nose and
right.
boom.
Ding, ding.
Right. Now, also, your program, Live It Up, is very unique because you interview people from all walks of life. I mean, you have celebrities, you've interviewed people like Tony Bennett, and then you interview the average person on the street that possibly has a story to tell. So, how did you come with this idea of blending the show together to make it the success it is?
That's a beautiful question too, Mark. Wow. It's fun. It's funny for me to be on the other side. So I'm like, ooh, let me be introspective
Tables
here for a
are
second.
turned tonight.
So when the concept came about, I needed to gain audience, and the celebrities helped me get eyeballs to my show. And the everyday people were the stories that I really wanted to tell. But how was I going to monetize that? How was I going to get people to pay attention? So early on, the celebrities liked me because the show's all good news and they knew that they could trust me. And once you do one celebrity and they say something nice about you, then the other people feel comfortable around you. And that's how
Mhm.
that part started. Then, how I ended up monetizing it is that businesses would pay me, kind of like people used to do a trifold brochure and they would
Mhm.
advertise. So
Mhm.
they would then pay me to be on 6 to 8 minutes. And then I'd take a portion of that money and I'd scholarship, which is basically the same business model I use today. And I scholarship those stories that I want to tell, but they might not have the ability to pay for that. Um, so that's kind of how it works. So it wasn't really, it was just a matter of necessity, right? I wanted to tell the stories of the nonprofits. I wanted to tell the stories of the everyday heroes. I wanted to be able to bring their stories to life. And I've just figured out a way to do it. And so the celebrities, what's fun about it is I don't really care that they're famous. When I talk to them, I want to know what nonprofit matters to them. What
Mhm.
calls, how do they want to use their talent, their time, and their treasure to make a difference in the lives of others? And so that's kind of like the underlying mission. So when somebody watches the show, or even if they just watch a segment, I want them to walk away with that feeling of like a breath in,
Mhm.
right? And so everybody kind of works together. All the elements of the show kind of, the magic of it all comes together. And that's basically how I do it. One time we were talking on the phone and I said, what I really do is I paint with people. I take
Mhm.
this person and I take this person and I paint with them and I stand back and I'm like, ooh, that's really cool. Now those people are working together, or that nonprofit was able to get this new piece of equipment because they were on the show. Or um, recently, this was so profound. Early on in March, when COVID started, there was supposed to be this dance-a-thon for a nonprofit to prevent or to bring awareness about suicide, and it didn't get to happen. So I ended up having this gentleman by the name of Jerry Appelstein, on the show, and we were talking about his son Jason. And that segment was all about helping bring about awareness and suicide prevention. So the year went by, and then this New Year's Eve in December, Jerry sends me a text. He goes, "We saved a life." I'm like, what do you mean?
Mhm.
Someone had reached out to him to say that they saw this segment on my show and they were contemplating suicide. I don't want to get emotional already. It was crazy. But anyway, they were contemplating suicide and they decided not to do it because they saw that one segment that Jerry and I did. So
Yes.
that's what fuels me. That's
Yes.
what,
Isn't
that's my
that
why.
amazing? Yes. Isn't that amazing when you have a show, what you can do for the audience out there? And really, that is the reason we do the shows. It is for the audience, and it is a great tool, free of charge for the audience to watch, and they learn so much.
Thank
Now,
you.
tell me, how does the Donna Drake Show all come together? Obviously, you just don't walk into the studio and, hello, folks. I mean, there is a team behind, there's, guest bookings. What is like the average week like for Donna Drake?
Well, when I first started the show, it was simply me and my friend Fran, and we were sitting in front of a monitor with a stagnant like logo on it. It looked like a bumper sticker. It just said like "Live It Up," right? And it has evolved. I remember one of the early shows I did. We were just like in a black box, and we would pretend like we had an audience. So I'd be like, "Oh, thank you everybody for being here." And, it was just so simple, but it's all we had. It's how we started. And
Mhm.
now today I'm sitting in this brand new studio, which
Which was my next question. How
yeah,
did
is
it
where
evolve? She just
which,
opened her own studio. Tell us about it.
yeah. So now it's magical, and I have the best team around me, the most loyal people. Like my audience is amazing. The team behind me is fantastic. So I have a great business partner in Lou Vaccarelli. I have state-of-the-art camera equipment and everything that Ken Bogart has been providing. We have phenomenal editors on the show, and we really are a functional family. Like we look
Mhm.
out for each other. We have each other's back. And
And your set is so cozy. It's like, I want to be there. It is such a cozy
come
set. And
on over.
I also, I also heard something that your own TV set is on the set that you had as a child. I mean,
Yep, hold on, wait.
how
Let me
cool is
just
that?
let me just point that. Oh, there's Oprah. We'll talk about her in
Oh,
a second. But
geez.
somewhere, oh, there, see back yonder? See
Yes.
that? That's
Yes.
my zenith. That's where
Whoa.
I watched Speed Racer, and that's where I watched all those fun
I
shows
had
in the
that same
70s.
TV.
That's my real TV from when I was a little girl.
I know.
So,
I had the same one.
so growing up, I would always tell my dad, I do live a magical existence, I really do. But I would always tell my dad, could you please save the TV for me? Because someday I'm going to grow up and I want to use it as a table.
Mhm.
He kept it. He never got rid of it. I went away to college. I got married. I moved to New York. I did all these things. And it was last year when I finally built this bigger set that I absolutely love and adore, that I called my dad in St. Louis. And I said, Dad, I said, you know what? I think I'm ready. Could we like you ship it? And the very first day I filmed on this new set, sure enough, knock on the door. Who was there? You ship with the Zenith.
Oh my God.
So yeah, so it it makes me happy even just to look at it.
Mhm.
It just makes me
Mhm.
happy. And we were
So
able to,
did
yeah,
you?
we turned it on and it worked. But
Wow,
yeah,
that was
so
my
now,
question. And did you sort of model your set after your home life?
no, what I did is I decided that the show, coming from New York, I wanted it to kind of look like a New York loft. So
Mhm.
I spent hours and hours going through different pictures of what a kind of a cool lofty kind of place would look like. And then I systematically sketched it all out. I went to art college when I was a kid. So I
Mhm.
actually just made my drawing into a three-dimensional reality. So the doors behind me were actually from another set, and there is a
Mhm.
place called Habitat for Humanity Restore here on Long Island.
Mhm.
And I went there because when I bought something, then the money goes to a nonprofit organization. So the
Mhm.
first thing I bought was this big picture window in the back, and it's heavy. I mean, it's an actual window. When people build sets, Mark, they don't actually get real windows and stuff. It's just like, it's not how it's done.
No.
But for whatever reason, I decided that's what I was going to do. So I bought the center window, and then I bought the two side windows, and then Guy Iacano from Iacano Iron, I said, oh, I kind of want a staircase. I didn't realize his family had built the George Washington Bridge. Like he's one of the biggest iron companies in the world. And here I am. I'm like, oh,
Mhm.
could you build me like a spiral staircase, or could you? So this whole set really came together. Like the brick was
Mhm.
actually red pizzeria.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Thank you. It was really red pizzeria brick paneling
Wow.
that we got faux finished. And I don't know, it's just been magical. And CDI did the plants. Oh, and this furniture, I'm working with David Santiago, and he this was a 125-year-old antique frame. he completely like gutted it. And then we got the fabric from Tebow, and so he says to me, he goes, I've got an idea for your set. It's going to be blue tiger stripe. I'm like, David, I don't even wear like animal prints to sleep in. I said, I'm just like not a cheetah print zebra kind of girl. I was not. So I looked at it and I said to myself, I was like, you know what? I'm going to be bold. I'm going to trust David. And I love it because on camera, it looks like water. So this whole set kind of came together. Just
I was going to say, it looks like you're sitting on a wave.
Thank you. Like, so we do have a lot of fun. We do. I have a great crew, great people around me. I feel blessed every day. I'm really
And let me
thankful.
ask you, you've interviewed everyone. I mean, oh my God, Jerry Springer, you name it. Who is one of your, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh,
Who
no.
is one of your favorite guests that you really?
There's been so many. I don't know, actually. Okay, I share this story a lot, but I guess it really is important. One of my favorites was my Jay Leno moment, because for me, that moment was, it was pivotal because growing up and watching the Tonight Show and everything, it wasn't like I grew up to be on the Tonight Show. It's like the guy from the Tonight Show was on my show. And I remember after the interview was over, I nearly passed out and I started crying, and I was walking back from the Fontainebleau where I got to interview him because he won the Brandon Tartikoff Award, back to the Holiday Inn, and I'm crying profusely and happy tears. And the concierge comes over to me with a box of tissues. I call my dad because my mom is now in heaven, and I called my dad, and he goes, "Babe, are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Something amazing just happened. It's life-changing." And I told him, I said, "I just got to interview Jay Leno." He goes, "Well, honey," he goes, "that's not something to cry about." He goes, "It's going to be okay." He goes, "I'm really happy for you. I'm really proud of you." He said, "You're doing a great job. Just keep going." And that was pretty cool because my dad growing up was always kind of like quiet, and it was my mom that was always like the big cheerleader for me. And in that moment, it was cool that my dad was proud of me. So that's probably one of my favorites. But
And also, and I
I love every guest.
Oh yeah, Jay is wonderful. I had the chance to interview him years ago, and I have a very pivotal moment. I walked in his dressing room when he was only in his shorts.
Well, hello.
And he said to me, "Oh boy," he says, "can you make money now off the National Enquirer?" And yes, he was wonderful. And just like you, every time you have on a different guest, I find this to be true also. Don't you find each one very interesting and unique in their own way? I mean, you could ask them the same question and you will never get the same answer from anybody.
That's true. That's true. Like even Howie Mandel, when I interviewed Howie Mandel, his answer to one of my questions was surprising because I said, "What was the moment when you knew you made it?" And he's like, "Made it?" He goes, "I don't think I've even made it yet." He goes, he goes, "I'm still always looking for that next gig." He goes, "I'm a working, actor." He goes, "This is what I do. This is what I love." I almost quoted him exactly like that. I almost did an impression of him, but he goes, but it was in that cadence. So I do love what I do. It's just, my grandfather used to say, there's a reason there's a butcher, baker, and a candlestick maker.
Exactly.
And I love them all, every single person. And I don't cookie cutter anything with any of my guests. And I know you don't either, Mark. It's a very free flow. I don't even use teleprompter. I literally am sitting with somebody as if we're having food together, but we're just not eating.
Yes. And don't you find that is what makes the show free flowing and going? If we were sitting and reading the prompter word for word for word, I don't think your show would be the success that it is. People love the sit down and chat. I mean, that's like me, this cabin podcast. I mean, my cat cup, real casual. People really do enjoy that. And I also feel when it free flows. And tell me if you agree, you get more out of the interview.
Yes. Yeah. Because to me, it's like being in this like special space with someone, and you kind of have that vibe and you make the eye contact, and then it almost feels like flying. It feels like you're transported somewhere. And that's what I want my audience to feel. I want when they watch I want them to feel as if they're in the conversation with us, right?
Mhm.
I really
Exactly. Bring
want them
them
to have
in.
that. And earlier tonight, I kind of flashed by the picture of Oprah, and the reason is that you asked me about my studio. I am now sitting in the same exact building and studio that where I started my television career in 1997. I worked in this building from 1997 to 2002, and then I did a lot of freelance work for them. But the reason I am who I am today is that I would walk by that poster of Oprah, and that was one of when I was the promotions coordinator here in this building.
Mhm.
And I would walk by her every day and I'd be like, if you can do it, I can do it. Because at the time, a lot of the places were only hiring really good looking blondes.
Mhm.
And here I am, short, tiny, curvy, brunette, right? And I would look at Oprah and I would be so like, I had like this kindred connection to her.
Mhm.
So over the years, that poster still hung in the hallway here. And
Mhm.
when CBS bought WLNY TV, they asked me, is there anything in the building you want? I said, I'd really love that Oprah poster. And they're like, okay. So Oprah then hung in my makeup room in different studios. And then it
Mhm.
was so cool because see, I got to bring her back here with me in the
Uh-huh.
building where I walked by that same poster all the time. So knowing
Mhm.
that you're in Chicago, I just thought that this would be a fun moment to like
Yes. And
celebrate Chicago.
I actually had the chance to interview Oprah before the world knew her. This is when she hosted a little show called AM Chicago back in the day. And it always amazes me, and I'm sure Donna, you ran across this with many guests on your show, like Howie Mandel. What do you mean I made it? I'm still working. That's how Oprah was. Do you know what? When I asked her about her success, you know what she said to me? Success, she says, I don't know. She says, they probably took a chance when they hired me. She says, I'm just this little African American girl from Baltimore, Maryland. She says, I probably give this show 6 months.
Oh,
Look what happened.
well, there you
Isn't it
go.
amazing? And I think today that she did not have confidence in herself way back when. And
Possibly.
you just do not know where things can go. And I always say too, and I'm sure you do, every day is another adventure.
It truly is so much
Yes.
fun. And
And
today, you know what I did today? Talk about like all hands on deck. So if you look over here, see that riser there, Mark?
oh yes.
Okay, so today I was actually like on my hands and knees, like cutting the carpet around that. There's no
Mhm.
hierarchy here on our set. Like we are all hands on, and I think that's
Mhm.
what makes it fun.
Yeah, I
Is that
love
you
it.
just
Now I'm looking at the background. Is that a hedge over there?
yes, these two pieces, yep, are like the outdoor hedges, and those were from
Yes.
a friend of mine. They had a big show at the Javits Center, and I met these wonderful people, and companies called CDI. Danette is her name, and Danette was like, and it was part of David's vision for the whole overall
Mhm,
set. And he's like, "Oh,
mhm,
you need plants." I'm like, "Okay,"
mhm.
you know.
And
So
Donna, what advice would you have for somebody right now that's watching that is interested in a career in this business? What would you say to them?
they could call me. I give free
Okay.
advice all no, seriously. I want I find joy in mentoring people and helping people and
Sure. Yes, I do
um
a lot of that myself. I
yeah,
can attest to
but
that.
I think that to be original, to stay true to yourself,
Mhm,
and even if there's like a million talk shows out there, that's okay. It's
mhm,
you are unique and you are special enough that you can
mhm,
do anything that you put your mind to. It's like being an athlete or anything. Never give up on yourself. Give yourself
mhm,
permission to thrive. Give yourself permission to succeed.
mhm,
If you want to start out small, start out small.
mhm.
You don't, you don't need a lot of money to get into our industry. You just need a lot of gut.
Right, exactly. And
Uh,
a lot of will and a lot of patience and a lot of persistence. All of the above. Now tell us too, I mentioned earlier you won awards, the Telly Award twice. Tell us about some of the awards that you've won.
So the award that I won for the telly, I don't usually enter a lot of things, but the story that I told you about earlier tonight with Mr. Applestein, I'm going to enter that into the Emmys because I think that that's a really good segment that could bring somebody so much joy in their life.
Mhm,
And the reason that I entered the tellies is that it was the first time I entered it, but it was for a story about a young woman named AJ, and she lost her home in Sandy, and she was a chef, and she had actually been on one of the cooking shows uh, national cooking show, and she lost her kitchen, and the kids were making fun of her, and she gained a lot of weight because she was eating fast food. And I was just heartbroken. And I had seen her and her mom, and they were telling me the story about how her mom had lost her job, and they had enough money to get their house back together, but they didn't have enough money to get their kitchen back together. And kids were like, "Oh yeah, you're really a chef, you know, you don't even have a kitchen." Ha ha ha. You know, like just
Mhm.
rude and cruel. So I ended up connecting with friends of mine at Sub-Zero, and I got her a oven for her donated. And what she really wanted to do is she wanted to make enough empanadas so she could sell the empanadas so that she could have enough money to go to private school and get away from the bully kids, right?
Oh.
So I didn't enter it for me. I entered it for AJ. I was like,
Right.
let me get this, because if I can get you one of those trophies, you know, and then you could be like, hello. And that's why I did
Mhm.
it. So
And besides being on television and all what you've done, you're also an author.
yes,
Tell us about that. Correct me if I'm wrong. After your husband passed, you wrote a book about cancer.
I did. I rolled, you know how people just say, just roll over and die? I
Mhm.
decided to do a short little book called Just Roll Over and Live. And it was basically about the things that we did and the fun that we had and the ways that we were able to live it up as a couple, even though we knew that time was short.
Mhm.
And, you know, just funny little things that we did. And he had such a great sense of humor. And then, so that was just a small little thing, memoirs. And I had printed out some of the emails, the love emails that we had sent back and forth
Mhm.
between us. So
Mhm.
that's a nice little piece. But what I'm most proud of, and actually Oprah covered it in her magazine, is a book called Manifesting Your Dreams. And
Mhm.
that is doing phenomenal. Um, hold on just a second. I'm just going to, something came up on my screen. So that book is really about my journey up until the point before I moved into the studio. And it's about one of the things I talk about in my TEDx talk, which is focus, which is figuring out your consistent, unique strengths. And it
Mhm.
really talks about how I helped manifest my dream. And it's
Mhm.
a collection of 20 other dreams that people have, you know, put into motion, whether it was an actual dream where they were sleeping like mine, or
Mhm.
other goals they had for themselves.
Yes.
So, and it's
Well,
a
Donna, I
collection by
must
Marla
tell you.
McKenna.
Yes, I must tell you, it has been a lot of fun having you on the program. You are remarkable. And once again, Donna Drake Show. Tell us where everybody can find it.
Yeah, just Google me, I guess. But view it, VUIT.com. I'm on viewit.com 24/7. And they have 95 episodes, including like my Henry Winkler interview and all kinds of fun things that they could find. They could follow me on my Instagram, Donna Drake TV. They can find me on YouTube channel. Just, I don't know, wherever they have a phone, a
Wherever you
computer,
are.
or a television.
Well, Donna, again, thank you so much for coming to my little program here. And you are truly an inspiration with a wonderful show. Much continued success with the Donna Drake Show. And I see big plans ahead for you in the future.
I
Uh,
am
there,
very
there,
grateful.
yes, there is no stopping you. And,
Oh,
and that is the way that it should be.
thank you so much. And thank you to your engineer, Michael. Mark, thank you for having me a guest on your show. And happy journeys to all of you until we meet again.
Well, thank you so much, Donna.
Okay, be well. Thanks again. Have
Bye
a
bye.
nice time. Bye bye.